Hi. Hi, Denmark. Yeah, today we are going into verse 5 and 6, I think. And verse 5 still in the topic of renunciation, of letting go of what is not working for us. And then verse 6, which is a very complex area, the relationship to spiritual teachers. So I want to go into that today, not covering it, but at least bringing some of the points in this topic, which Ken MacLeod mentions in his commentary. And for our meditation now in the beginning, I would like to just bring up the word bodhichitta. So some of you, I guess, are traveling within the Tibetan tradition for a while now, and yeah, such a beautiful word. We don't know yet what it is, but probably there's a response, just by that word. Different ways to translate this word. I like to translate it as the awakening heart. So what is bodhicitta? This jewel of bodhicitta has so many facets to it, and it still remains to be a mystery for us. But what are you connecting with when you hear this beautiful Sanskrit word bodhicitta, awakened heart? And one way to connect with bodhicitta in a felt sense, so not just having some definition, like some words, how it is being defined in the Tibetan tradition, but one way to connect with the felt sense of bodhicitta is to call upon the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because he is an embodiment of bodhicitta. And if you have had the fortune to be in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama or other masters who embody bodhicitta, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, other masters, then you might remember the sense of mighty stillness, the sense of unconditional love, the sense of freedom and joy these masters bring into the room. Something people are very attracted to, even if they don't know, the teachings. So we are very fortunate to have living examples of bodhicitta in our life. And the good news in the Mahayana tradition is that bodhicitta is our true nature. So obviously one can see bodhicitta also as something that we develop on the progressive path, but there's also the view that it is already present. It is why we are here. Yeah, so this moment is born from bodhicitta. It was set up and We come to this temple, to this Mahayana temple, because there's bodhicitta. Obviously, there is aspects in the motivation of practicing and meditating which are ego-based, yeah? Hoping that practicing makes us feel better. That's fine. Yeah, it's a good start. But if you reach deep into your being and deep into your life and into your history, then probably you find that intention, that motivation, that calling. It's calling you, and it's also calling from your heart. And a call which has been there, maybe since childhood. A kind of knowingness that it is all about love, and that you are here to express the love which resides in your heart in the most authentic way. So just acknowledging that this urge of bodhicitta, the yearning of bodhicitta, has been there guiding you in your life and also bringing you into this moment. A longing to grow up, to heal, and to wake up for the benefit of all. And that's why we are here in this moment. That's an expression of that deep yearning, that deep longing, that call, that call for coming home to your true nature. So if we settle in the posture, in the Bodhisattva posture, I invite you to sit with the confidence that bodhicitta is already here. It's surrounding and pervading this experience. It's bigger than us. And when we sit down in this posture, we can appreciate that it's not only us here in this virtual temple, but at the same time, right now, there's countless thousands and thousands of other people who are taking their seat as the sons and daughters of the Buddha. So in a moment like this, assuming the seat as a bodhisattva or as a baby bodhisattva, you are never alone. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa, as full-fledged bodhisattvas or Buddhas, they're here with us, but also all the other bodhisattva babies. And I invite you to not so much go to the head and to the words, but into the felt sense of your body. And trusting that inborn, indestructible, uncorruptible goodness within you. And settling down with the breath, with a sense of aliveness in your body. Allowing thoughts to go into the background. Opening all your senses, opening your awareness into our connection here. And the protection of the presence of the Buddhas. And yes, there is probably movements, sensations in the body which feel rather contracted or uncomfortable. And that's fine. Just let it be. And allow yourself to be bathed in bodhicitta without knowing what it is. And could you allow yourself to find a place of peace, a place of rest in the midst of your experience? Trusting the natural goodness of this moment. Trusting bodhicitta. Bathing in the sun of bodhicitta. Breathing in bodhicitta and breathing out bodhicitta. Not knowing what it is. One aspect of bodhicitta is the experience that we are connected with everything else. That this moment is like a wave in the shoreless ocean of life. So there's a sense of boundarylessness, of centerlessness in bodhicitta. And whatever arises for you, pleasant or unpleasant thoughts, sensations, sounds, they move within the space of bodhicitta. So arises for you is already infinitely loved. And is already seen as empty. It's vividly appearing, but empty. Bodhicitta is that what wants to emerge from the depth of your heart, from the depth of your being. But also bodhicitta is that what is calling you home. And there could be a wonderment, gratitude, just to hear the word bodhicitta. The wish-fulfilling jewel. Bodhicitta is the ultimate medicine. Bodhicitta is what gives us meaning in life, direction in life. Just resting. Bodhicitta is at the very core of this moment, the very essence of this moment. And then I want to conclude this meditation with first from Shantideva, from the Bodhisattva. Just listen to this, feel into your responses. As long as space remains, as long as beings suffer, as long as my children, partners, friends, as long as animals suffer, I too shall remain. In order to serve, to help, to heal, to relieve their pain. As long as space remains, as long as beings suffer, I too shall remain. To relieve their pain, to wake up, to bring them home. As long as space remains, as long as my mothers suffer, I too shall remain for the benefit of all. This is my pledge. This is my eternal vow. Yes, and then if you have your eyes closed, you open them. Stay in the aftermath of this meditation. Bodhichitta will be a topic in the text also later. So we are in verse 5. So as before, if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself or write in the chat. That's also possible. So Tongme Sangpo wrote this poem. With some friends, the three poisons keep growing. Study, reflection, and meditation weaken, while loving kindness and compassion fall away. Give up bad friends. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. So give up bad friends. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. With some friends, the three poisons keep growing. So the three poisons, attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Study, reflection, and meditation weaken. So that is a sequence we often hear in the Tibetan tradition, how to practice. So we start with studying, receiving teachings. And the next stage is the deep reflections, the discussion, the dialogue with each other. And then meditation is to bring this into embodiment, So to bring what we hear and then what we reflect upon into our being, into our guts, kind of from the head into our guts, so that we become embodiments of these teachings, while loving kindness and compassion fall away. Give up bad friends. I like the take Ken McLeod takes here by including, when we talk about give up bad friends, to include or to start even with our inner life, yeah? With habits, with conditioning, with ways to act and to be which are not aligned with what we really want to embody. And I don't see that so much as something I need to do, like, okay, give up bad friends. So now I have to, who are my bad friends, and to give them up. For me, it's more a description of what is happening when we immerse ourselves in the teachings. And it is sometimes a period of confusion and destabilization for people, that they start to discover that there's a discrepancy between what they are inspired to embody, what they inspired to what they are inspired to live in their life, and how life for them is actually right now. So I see that again and again, that people come into this period of that they notice that they start to lose interest in certain activities, and they start to feel uncomfortable around certain people, certain kinds of conversations, maybe things they really enjoyed before. And then there can be a bit of a crisis there, and also a kind of grief of letting go of relationships, of clubs, of activities, of hobbies, which are not aligned anymore, what becomes more and more important to you. And it's not easy to navigate that territory. Yeah. It's just at one point there comes a time where you feel you are putting up a show, that you're wearing a mask, that you are not really expressing and moving in the way you would like. And then, without seeing this as an instruction, something you have to do, it just naturally happens that that your circles of friends, they start to change. And it's particularly difficult in that period where you feel uncomfortable in certain situations, in certain conversations, and certain relationships, and you have not yet found other sangha, yeah? Other people who value the same. It can be a very lonely place, yeah? Difficult, painful. And I think it's good to appreciate that is actually part of our development as a practitioner, that we go through these periods of destabilization, where we are moving forward, but we are not yet in a place where there is a sangha, where there is people we can share what is really important to us. Regarding inner bad friends, yeah? Inner like conditions, habits, addictions. Ken McLeod gives the advice that by just naming them and becoming aware, we start to weaken them. This is a very profound instructions here in the instruction in this commentary. Really something to explore for yourself. How by becoming aware and naming conditions, conditioning, habits, patterns, identifying them as an energy in your body, understanding the connection with your psychological history. Yeah? So why there are certain reactive patterns, certain defense patterns in you, by just becoming aware, not applying any other antidote, just seeing that they are movements in your system and they have the reasons. It's not that you choose them. At one point, they were probably a healthy coping strategy when you were more when you were little, but that it is time to outgrow them. And an important part of that outgrowing unhealthy patterns, habits, is to just become aware of them, to see them, to name them. It's a theme also in myths, yeah, that when you name the dragon, it shrinks. Yeah. Or in fairy tales, when you know the name of the wizard, then the wizard has no power anymore. It's something to explore yourself. When we name and when we become aware of the internal so-called bad friends, it's very important to do that with kindness, and compassion, and forgiveness. And also with an insight that these patterns and conditioning, that they are impermanent, that they are empty, that they don't really exist, that they are not findable as something solid, real. You're bigger than them because you are that which is aware of them. So one point at the end of the commentary of Ken McLeod, I just want to another thing I just want to say, when you do it, so when that starts to happen, that you let go of relationships, I mean, not in the sense that you give people up, obviously, but that you are seeking other environments to be in, then the kind of the reward of that is that you feel lighter. So you start to travel lighter because you are more authentic. There's less of a show. There's a less of that kind of pretending, yeah? And you feel more and more that you can be more and more authentic with yourself, being yourself. And so that's a wonderful, it's a wonderful place to come to. But at the end of this commentary, Ken MacLeod writes, a caution. As these changes unfold, you may see your new direction as better, as superior to your old ways. Yeah? That is only natural, but it is easy to fall into another old habit, criticizing and disparaging the friends and the ways of life you are leaving behind. I think this is really something important to become aware of in yourself. Yeah, so kind of you move on, you live more aligned with your values, you live more aligned with your heart, and that's wonderful. And it will increase your vitality and your creativity and your freedom, the sense of freedom. But there is that pitfall, which he describes here, that then we criticizing and disparaging the friends and the ways of lives you are leaving behind. And I noticed that. I noticed that in myself, but also in other practitioners. Then there creeps maybe in a contempt or a sense of superiority. Kind of, I can't meet my friends anymore, and I can't be with my family anymore because they only talk about weather and cooking, and it's so boring. And I want to discuss bodhichitta and emptiness and make my life meaningful. And and they are kind of zombies. So it's good to look out for that. So leaving bad friends doesn't mean to disconnect from them. And our practice, if it's healthy, will lead to will increase our capacity to be present to all kinds of ways of living and people. And if you find yourself becoming critical and judgmental, let it go. This is really something to be aware of. How through our, and it's more difficult to recognize it in ourselves. It's more easy to see it in others. How often Dharma practice, it doesn't make us more loving, more tolerant, more an increasing capacity to connect with others, but to an opposite, that there is a kind of a Dharma police growing in us, yeah, which is deep down, of course, judging yourself, but it shows obviously in a judgment towards others and a sense of superiority. So you are falling back into old patterns, exactly what you wanted to leave behind. So what to do with these pattern? the suggestion of Ken MacLeod here is the same as I said before, to become aware, to be radically honest with what is happening in your inner life, and notice the contraction, notice the pain of judging others, noticing the pain of arrogance, of a spiritual arrogance, sense of superiority. Just notice that, feel it in your body, and welcome it. Humor also helps. There is the little Dharma policeman, the little Dharma police. Judging others for filling the water bottles in the wrong way. So let's move to the next verse.
Stephan,
Yes.
there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Could you say a little more about how bodhicitta gives us purpose, direction in our lives?
Yes. If you ask for a definition of bodhicitta very often, you will get that it's just one facet of bodhicitta, but it's part of bodhicitta. You get this definition that bodhicitta is the intention, the motivation, the compass in one's life to wake up to our true nature for the benefit of all. So if you make that, if you put that into the center of the mandala of your life, meaning that intention, that motivation becomes something in the background which shapes everything you do. So imagine someone whose motivation or his intention in life is to become famous and to make a lot of money. So this person has that in the background of his or her activities. So this person goes, for example, to a party not because to enjoy herself and have a good time, or make it a nice time for others. This person goes to a party and looks for connections, uses a party for connecting with other people, which then might help in the project of making more money and being famous. So we could even imagine that a person like this even has a family with that kind of intention. Everything is colored by that deep background intention. So with bodhicitta, we relax into a deep yearning, a deep longing to wake up and to move through our activities in the day, and to wake up not in the sense of self-liberation, to wake up to shift from samsara into nirvana, but to wake up and to heal within us everything which prevents us to love everything and to love everyone, to heal that, to dissolve that. So if that becomes more and more the center of the mandala of your life, then that gives directions and purpose and meaning to all activities. So this is actually, within the Mahayana tradition, the key or the answer to the question, how do I practice in daily life? How do I practice in my workspace? How do I practice what does it mean to practice when I go shopping? What does it mean to practice when I watch Netflix? What does it mean? How can I practice here with these daily activities? And the answer here, the key in the Mahayana tradition, is to embed it into the intention to be in this life as an opportunity to wake up to your true potential. And then slowly, slowly, it's possible to feel the light of bodhicitta in all activities. And maybe initially it's something we have we do conceptually by remembering. Okay, when you go to work, so you cultivate a bodhicitta intention, you say a bodhicitta prayer, you remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama, different ways to connect with that. We will look into that later in the text. And then everything changes. Everything changes. Shopping or sleeping becomes something deeply meaningful. Yeah, so I think there will be more about this in the text. So let's go to verse 6, which is bringing up this really complex, particular for us, complex and really deep and confusing topic of relating to spiritual teachers. And Tome Sampo writes, with some teachers, your shortcomings fade away and abilities grow like the waxing moon. Hold such teachers dear to you, dearer than your own body. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. It's a very strong sentence, yeah, and I think we don't need to take it literally, but it's really expressing the importance of this topic. And in the Tibetan tradition, it's really necessary that we reflect on this and hold such teachers dear to you, dearer than your own body. And there's so much to say to this. I can just throw in some reflections and some points. Ken MacLeod starts his commentary with saying, for many, one of the biggest challenges in spiritual practice is to find a teacher or a guide. Yeah. I think later I don't know if he says it here in this commentary, but he says it's more difficult than to find a spouse. Yeah. And so I don't know where you are with this. Probably in different spaces in your journey. Yeah? So what kind of relationships you have to teachers, and what your journey, and also maybe your struggles and your wounds with this topic. It's very difficult for us. And we can't do it exactly like the Tibetans do. So that's another challenge. We bring other things to the table. So we really have to, we are the generation, trying to find our way into this, what is a healthy relationship to a teacher? Do I need a teacher? Do I want a teacher? And what kind of teacher? Because on the path, we have different kinds of teachers. Yeah? So there is when in the Tibetan tradition, when they talk about teacher relationship, they talk about relating to a tantric master, to a qualified tantric master. But many of us are not there. So there's our yoga teacher, there's our psychotherapist, there's meditation instructors, there's so different kinds of relationships to different kinds of teachers, and different things we learn in different relationships to teachers. One point in the commentary of Ken MacLeod is, once you're connected with the teacher on different levels. So I'm not necessarily now talking about a relationship to a tantric master. So once you found a teacher who works for you, who speaks to you, and that's also interesting to acknowledge that we all have different styles and different needs. So different kinds of teachers will just talk to you, and it's something you can only figure out yourself. There's no, the teachers who I worked with, I know that some of them are not suitable for other people. So it's really very personal. So, but once you start to establish a relationship to a teacher, what is then important is to cultivate that relationship. In the same way you cultivate a relationship to friends. To hang around, to return, to put some energy into it. To put time into the relationship. There's obviously also a benefit in kind of just passively listening to some YouTube videos or read some books. So that's one part of our journey. But there is something magic in relating. meaning also to showing up, to share, to show yourself to a teacher, to get into a dialogue. And that's scary. Yeah. And yeah, of course, it's fine for some time to just sit in the background and just listening and more like passively trying to get something. But for me, in my own journey and my own relationships with different kinds and different levels of teachers, where the most healing happened or the most growth is when I showed up and when I shared something. And of course, if you have a relationship to like a master, like a guru, His Holiness Dalai Lama, or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, it's pretty unrealistic. It's still possible with Lama Zopa or with other masters of that level to have a bit of a more personal interaction. But then there's so many other teachers, who are not famous, and mentors who have traveled the path and who are willing to share their experience. And in my own journey, those relationships, like more on an equal level, as a dialogue, as a chain, as a traveling together, they are as important to my own journey and to my own life than my relationships to the masters where I've received initiations from. And then there's a sentence in his commentary I like to read. Look for a person who speaks to you. So that's someone to whom you will listen even when you're completely crazy. Someone to whom you will listen even when you are completely crazy. And then another sentence, cherish the relationship, but do not worship your teacher. So cherish the relationship, and in this, Tongme Sangpo puts it in this strong way, even more than your body. But do not worship your teacher. This is something for us to contemplate. Yeah. There's that kind of idealistic view, particularly if the teacher is Tibetan, and to see these level of teachers as superhuman. So we don't relate to the teacher as a person, but we relate to our own projection. And naturally, that superhuman projection will be disappointed. And that is for people sometimes a real crisis. I like one pith instruction of Alex Burson regarding this, and he says, focus on the qualities, but don't deny the shortcomings. Focus on the qualities and focus on what you want to learn, or what you want to develop in that relationship. That what you're inspired by, but don't deny the shortcomings. And obviously, you can learn different things from different kinds of teachers. And in the Tibetan tradition, it's very, very common. I mean, I don't know, Lama Zopa had, I don't know the number, but like 20 gurus or something like that. So it's very common in the Tibetan tradition to work with different kind of teachers. And now here I also include therapists and people you can work with, your yoga teacher, or I mean, you're not going to get any help within in the relationship with Lama Zopa with some childhood wounding. It's not going to happen. That doesn't exist in the maps of the Tibetan tradition. It doesn't exist in the maps of most of the traditional Tibetan teachers. So it's very common that people, after many years doing all the practices and doing all the meditation, and then they come to a place where they start to experience, hey, something is not addressed here. I have a sense of deep abandonment and a sense of not feeling safe in the world, which is not being addressed by hundreds and hundreds of hours of guru yoga and light meditation and so on and so on. And then it's so important to establish relationship to other mentors, teachers, spiritual friends who can address that and who can help you there. It's a mistake to think that a traditional Tibetan Buddhist practice will address and heal and cover and reach the complexity of your whole being. So then another point, do not speak badly of your teacher either, even if you come to part ways. This is particularly important if you at one point establish a relationship to a tantric master through initiation. That's why it's so important to really take your time and to really take only initiation with a teacher where you feel that the bond, the samaya with that person cannot be broken, no matter what is happening. So do not speak badly of your teacher either, even if you come to part ways. And to part ways, that's a natural thing. So it might be that at one point, or maybe some of you have like a indestructible bond to something which you could call a root teacher, where you feel, so that's it for this life and all previous lives. But even there, there's times where you maybe spend more time with another teacher, with another aspect of your being, working with, with someone else. But also sometimes it's just time to move on. So if you have assimilated and integrated what a particular teacher is able to give you, then it's time to move on and to turn to other areas of your development. Every teacher is partial. No teacher can cover everything which you can heal or develop or grow. Do not speak badly of your teachers either, even if you come to part ways. There's no sure way to undermine your own practice or to close a door to your own awakening. Yeah. It's one of the tantric vows. Once you have made that bond to a teacher, the surest way to close the doors to your own growth is to talk badly about the teacher. This is difficult, of course. What happens, and I have been observing the process for many people, with students of Sogya Rinpoche, of Sakyom Mifam Rinpoche, of people like that, the Shukden practitioners. You might have practiced with someone of them. It's very difficult to not to deny the shortcomings, and also being able and courageous to communicate them with the teachers and with your peers, but still honoring the sacredness of that bond and honoring what you learned. Now, I have received pointing out instruction from Sogya Rinpoche, and it was genuine. I can't deny that. So if I now would talk badly about him and get into the stuff and the internet and all the horrible things which happened, and I would cut myself from that pointing out instruction, the most precious thing. It's understandable how I could close or contaminate my relationship with the sacredness of the Dharma. Yeah, that's this Ali wrote. So this gives me permission to get my needs met in other ways without feeling I'm betraying the teachings. Yes, this is important. And now I've used an extreme example like Sogya Rinpoche, moving on. I mean, if he would be still alive, I would never attend teachings with him. But I'm not betraying him, and I'm not betraying that he was a valid portal, a valid door for me into an experience of the nature of mind, no matter what he else does. And I'm not like, I'm not shocked by it, because he is a human being. And it's very hard, or it's a really challenge for teachers who get to that point of being worshipped by others, to still acknowledge that work needs to be done. That they still, as a human being, that there's still conditioning and patterns and so on, which will which needs to be addressed. But if everyone around you sees you as a fully enlightened Buddha, it's difficult to stay connected with one's own shadow. So when I look at Sogya Rinpoche, I can't point with the finger at him and say, how could he? I know how he could, because I could. That's why I don't want to be in that kind of place, and I would work against it, because I'm not qualified to do that, to be to sit on the seat of a lama. Yeah, maybe there's some other comments, questions, confusions around, or corrections.
Lori and Ali both have
Yeah.
questions in the chat.
What should we do if in the process of separating we spoke badly about the teacher? Yeah. Yeah. So purification practice. Yeah. This actually, we could also, extend that question into more, because of course we will notice. I mean, like, so I have this guru-disciple relationship with Lama Zopa, and of course, I have negative feelings. It's not as bad as it was 20 years ago. Yeah. But I have reactivity coming up. And then when we get the teachings in the Tibetan tradition, one bad thought about the Bodhisattva, it's like destroys 10 million eons of positive karma and brings you straight into the hell of Avicii or something. Don't take this literally. Yeah, this is myth. It's just like a Tibetan style strong way to communicate what I just talked about. In purification practice, you have these 4 powers, and I'm not going into them, but one of them is regret. So that's one of the purifying the ingredients of a purification practice or a healing practice. And then Ken McLeod's practice instruction of what you become aware of starts to weaken. Yeah. A curiosity about it also. What does it mean to talk badly about someone? Yeah, to to find out what does make the difference. Like if a teacher is acting out odd, or is saying something which is out of place, which happens frequently in this case, then because what I'm sharing is contaminated with my own confusion, with my own psychological history, with my own ways of being. So pointing that out to a teacher and also talking about that with one's peers doesn't mean that you talk badly about the teacher. It has to be done. Not doing it just causes this ongoing ethical harmful behavior of teachers, because people are afraid to speak up and to point it out, because you're not supposed to talk badly about a teacher, but one can point out misbehavior or harmful behavior in others without hatred, without contempt, you can still, seeing in the tantric relationship, seeing your teacher as a Buddha is connecting with his or her Buddha nature. And on the condition level, there can be still unresolved stuff in that person, and probably it is, except in the case of Lama Zopa. But that's just for me, yeah, because I have empowered Lama Zopa Rinpoche to be that for me. It's my choice. And even then, I wouldn't do it here because I don't know you enough. But even then, I'm daring sometimes to criticize things he writes, or but my bond to him as the embodiment of bodhichitta and emptiness in my life is indestructible. And what then to do with the teachers who challenge us, who shine a light on our shortcomings? Yeah. This is also yeah, we really need discrimination, discernment. Because it's right. So one important job of a teacher is in a genuine relationship to a teacher, that always happens, is that the egoic structure is being challenged. I mean, Trungpa Rinpoche, who is a controversial teacher, but anyway, he says the main job of the teacher is to insult the student, and there is something in it. And I have experienced that with Lama Zopa, in the sense that he always invites me to do the things I don't want to do. Yeah, so like, so I'm a kind of a natural kind of hermit monk. So I don't like to relate to others. Yeah, that's not my natural inclination, or my natural vision of how to spend my life as a practitioner. And in all these years, Lama Zopa just pushed me out there, yeah, to be the director of Nalanda, to start to teach and stuff like that. All things. So there is that aspect. But it's obvious that this can be easily abused. So sometimes we are in a situation, in a relationship to a teacher, where his things, that what he is teaching you, or what he might ask you to do, is really the healthy and good things for your own development, for your own growth, because the teacher pushes you into areas where you wouldn't go alone. You would avoid, because you are scared, or you feel that's not your thing to develop this, you don't need this. But it's also a possibility that what comes through here, through the teacher, is some stuff in the teacher. And to distinguish that is really difficult. I don't have really answers to this. Common sense, trusting yourself. That's so important. And actually, the purpose of a qualified teacher is to guide you into your own wisdom. You know, it's this shift from relating to the outer guru to the inner guru. So a qualified teacher will not try to keep you dependent, but will work towards your independency. That's definitely also something which happens in my relationship to Lama Zopa. More and more you have to make this decision yourself. You need to find the inner guru, the inner wisdom. And the teacher is there to help us to do that. So that's why Ken MacLeod is saying, don't worship the teacher, because with that worship, you keep yourself eternally in the place of the student. This is it's a problem for us. You know, the Tibetans, they are very tribal and hierarchical. They don't leave Westerners, particularly not women, onto their thrones. So that means that even practitioners, Western practitioners, who have been practicing now since 50 years, and they studied all this stuff. They did their, I don't know, 10 years of retreats and something like this. But they are not welcomed or appreciated as qualified teachers. There's very few Westerners who take the seat as a Lama. And I don't know how many women are there, but probably you can count them on one hand. Yeah. One resource, there's quite a lot of good books around, because when we talk about healthy relationship to teachers, of course, we would also need to talk about sexual abuse, financial abuse, and all the um, all the things which also happening in the FPMT. Yeah, so it's not like that the FPMT is like the pure land of Buddhist organization where that stuff is not happening. So one resource to start with this is Alex Burson. I mentioned him before, and he wrote this book, Healthy Relationship to a Teacher, and it's also available on his website, Study Buddhism. And that's a good introduction into this topic, because he writes also from a knowledge of our psychological makeup. Because we really bring so different stuff on the table into these relationships than a Tibetan person would do. So it's really good. The traditional commentaries on guru devotion and things like that we get in the Lamrim literature is pretty useless for us. I mean, it's kind of, we can study it and there's some guidelines, but it's not really addressing what we bring into this topic. So it's necessary to look into books written by Westerners, possibly with some psychological background, to get to know projection, transference, counter-transference, the dynamic in this kind of relationship. And there's a lot of good mature knowledge around that kind of relationship. And if you're practicing in the Tibetan tradition, you need to look at this, because the relationship to the spiritual teacher in the Tibetan tradition is so much emphasized. It's really crucial for tantric practice. Okay, I come to an end. So obviously, every teacher is partial, so am I. So you have to use your own knowledge and your own wisdom, and also compare what you have heard from other sources to what I said today. I make mistakes. Yeah. Yes, so we dedicate the positive energy of our meeting, and particularly maybe we can dedicate towards this wish that we all have in this life and in all previous lives, healthy relationships to qualified Mahayana teachers. This is so precious to start to find these bonds to qualified teachers. So may they hook us with their hooks of compassion in this life and all previous lives, in all future lives. And may all other people find qualified mentors. All the stupid politicians, may they find qualified mentors and wake up to their potential. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephan.
Thank you, Stephan.
Bye.
Thank you, Stephan. I'm so happy Lama Zopa Rinpoche requested you to teach.
Thank you so much.
So powerful. Thank you very much.